Welcome along to Fujitsu World Tour London, where the theme for this year's event is driving a trusted future. The rapid evolution of new technologies, new structures and new ecosystems, it's all brought about by disruption, isn't it? But it's delivering a few questions and challenges to boardrooms and technology teams. How do we deliver all of that digital disruption whilst proving value back to the business, to colleagues, to customers, even the wider society? Well, we've got you back this year at Fujitsu World Tour London. We're going to help you identify the mix of partners, technologies, skills and solutions to address all of those questions. And that's the purpose of these interviews, to help surface tangible insight to the key challenges your organisation is facing with technology right now. I'm delighted to say, next we're going to be talking about creating a trusted future. Very apt given the theme for this year's event here. I'm joined by David Gentle, who's the Director of Strategy and Foresight for EMEA at Fujitsu. Familiar face to many that watch these segments. Thank you for coming along, David.
You're very welcome. Great to be here.
Data, trust, it's a hot topic right now, rightly so. I guess, first place to start, how does a business go about instilling trust in the technology that they're advancing? Because this isn't easy to do against the backdrop of some suggested mistrust in technology.
So I think it's really a question of just being able to understand the kind of different technology components that you have and how trust plays into that. Because actually, the world is becoming much more complex, and the way that organisations operate, particularly with respect to technology, is becoming more complex. So it's not a simple question of just kind of looking very simply at kind of what you have and applying some rules to it. There's much more variety around the technologies that you have in place. So you have to think about, for instance, your relationship with data, particularly your customers' data, and how what steps you're taking to ensure that everything is protected and your customers are protected. But that's kind of only one dimension. Now particularly we're seeing new technologies emerge, like AI, for instance. These are really powerful technologies, and you have to think about, well, what are the ethics behind these technologies? How can we, if these technologies, for instance, are going to be making decisions that impact people, how can we be sure that these decisions are being taken in the correct way? Maybe they're free of biases, or they're going to be taken in a way that doesn't harm people. So there's kind of lots of dimensions to it, and I think the other thing I'd say, the other challenge for organisations is just simply the pace of change. And this is particularly why we're talking a lot about trust at the moment, because things are moving so fast. The digital world is becoming so sort of immersed around us that actually, trust, although it's always been important for businesses, at the moment, because you can lose it so quickly, trust is a very important issue, and it's the thing that you need really to sort of give you resilience in this chaotic, fast-changing world.
Do you see the same challenges occurring between businesses and those delivering into society? I know Fujitsu is really keen on the impact they make to society. We've previously spoken about Smart City, for example, under the Fujitsu umbrella.
So I think there's a couple of aspects to this, and I think absolutely it's crucial. I think that there's two really important ways that trust plays into this. So one is just around, if you want, as an organisation, you want people to trust you, you want people to kind of buy into you, you need to create some empathy. You need to have a purpose, you need to have something that you stand for, or something that customers or wider society associate with you. So having that kind of wider sort of sense of your role in society, what you're trying to do in society, I think is increasingly important for organisations. And then the other sort of aspect to this is, you're talking about smart cities, for instance. We think that increasingly technology and organisations will be able to solve some pretty big problems, like how do you manage a city, or how do you deal with the rapid rise of cancer on a global level, or how do you deal with creating a sustainable environment. These are all really big problems, and actually, with new technologies, these become within our ability to solve them, but they require organisations working together and working together more in a sort of an ecosystem relationship. And this is where trust comes in. If we're going to form these ecosystems, we need to have trust between organisations, and we need organisations to feel kind of comfortable and we need these ecosystems to be healthy. So trust is absolutely crucial in that regard.
How challenging for a company is it to claw back trust when they've had an incident? I mean, last year we've spoken off camera about the Facebook Cambridge Analytica issue, which affected billions of users globally in the end, and they obviously felt the effects financially. How tough is it for a company, particularly one the size of Facebook, to be able to claw back trust when they've kind of damaged it a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the answer is it's incredibly difficult. I mean, there's an old Dutch proverb that goes something like, "Trust arrives on foot and leaves on horseback," and you know the trust can be lost so quickly, and particularly now in this sort of more chaotic, fast-paced world, you know, trust can evaporate really, really quickly. And I think this is something we've seen, you know, not just with technology companies, but in, you know, almost every sector you can think of. You know, the automotive sector, we've seen it in aircraft manufacturing recently, we've seen it in the charity sector, we've seen it in government. You know, really big organisations suddenly losing trust. And I think, you know, say it's difficult to get back, but I think, you know, the answer for organisations is to be able to sort of focus around two things. First of all, as we've mentioned, having that purpose, you know, having that kind of, as an organisation, we believe in something, and people can kind of have empathy with that. But I think also organisations have to be able to demonstrate competence in what they're doing. So show that they are, you know, responding to kind of proper processes, that they're actually kind of competent in what they're doing, and particularly they're acting in predictable ways. So if they say they're going to do something, or they say that something is protected, then it is. So I think those are the two things they need to focus on.
We've touched on some negative scenarios there, but we should say Fujitsu really believe it is possible to deliver rapid transformation whilst retaining trust. And you're doing this with a number of companies, aren't you?
Yeah, so you know, I think you know, back to the point about ecosystems. You know, we think that, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things that we're doing, a lot of new technologies that we're developing around AI and our new digital annealer technology, for instance, and you know, these are fantastic new technologies and really exciting technologies, but the ecosystem is really important. You know, I think increasingly you don't kind of necessarily act in isolation as an organisation, but you contribute something that you know, that you have real expertise in and you can offer, but you kind of link into the wider ecosystem. And I'd say that you know, some of these technologies, I mean, if you take a technology like digital annealer, it's really exciting because it you know, coming back to some of those big problems, you know, it for the first time, actually, I think, of any technology, gives you a chance of really using, you know, applying computing to fundamentally difficult problems, like, for example, you know, how do you manage traffic congestion in a major city, or how do you, you know, model at a molecular level sort of candidate molecules for potentially new drugs, you know, or how do you maximize a portfolio of investments according to sort of a minimal level of risk. You know, these are all things that are actually extremely difficult things to manage. So technology like digital annealer gives you a kind of, for the first time, an ability to kind of manage and handle like some of this complexity that we're seeing in the world.
Exciting times indeed. So it's always fascinating catching up with you, David, and hearing about the impact that we're having, particularly at society level. So I know it's keen to Fujitsu's heart, and there's a lot happening out there right now. We might be picking up on some of the interviews around some charity and non-profit tie-ups later. David Jensen, thank you so much for popping along and talking to us. Well, we promised you some insight, didn't we? There was a fair bit there. Plenty more still to come from Fujitsu World Tour. By the time we finish, we'd have brought you interviews spanning AI, security, retail, public sector, financial services. Oh God, there's about 14 others I'm probably forgetting right now. All you need to do is go onto the social channels, take a look at the videos, pop in a keyword relevant to your organisation or a technology you're curious about, and I'll assure you we have core opinion on how to address and meet the challenge facing your organisation today. Thank you for watching.